back as the California Public Utilities Commission looks to charge solar owners to lower electricity rates.
We think that every customer and every citizen in California should have the ability to decide how they want to fuel their homes, what electricity provider they would like, and where they'd like to get their energy from.
Hear why one Cal Berkeley professor is now arguing that phasing out solar subsidies helps everyone.
Olive was killed here in Fresno, but the dogs were in Clovis, trying to get somebody to come help. Fresno is saying call Clovis. Clovis is saying call Fresno. Animal Control, Fresno PD, Clovis PD. Nobody can do anything.
Heartbreak and devastation for one pet owner after her cat was mauled by dogs. How long the canines have been terrorizing her neighborhood and why nothing has been done about it.
A brief respite for an industry following the recently imposed tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico. A look at why those tariffs are now delayed for automakers.
You're watching Fox 26, the only live local news coverage on right now. Welcome to Great Day.
Good Thursday morning. I'm Kim Stevens.
I'm Carl Cook. Jim De La Vega and Justin Willis are off today. Thank you so much for joining us. And a little bit almost a rinse and repeat from yesterday. We do still have some rain, but not parts of the Central Valley. You're not going to see that. Maybe just like a little bit light. Did you enjoy the rain yesterday?
I did, and I enjoyed it this morning as well.
Oh, okay.
All I can think about is what I need to be doing right now. It is the perfect day to weed.
Oh,
They come out, and boy, we've got a lot of weeds after this winter, and that's all I am thinking. Well, it's not all I'm thinking about, but it's on my brain. I just need to be out there pulling, so it'll be easy.
For me, I think the blanket was just on, I passed out. So
I know. Yeah.
I'm a sleepy person. I can't help it. It's just one of the things I do. But as far as rain conditions right now, things are going to look a little bit different. It should start clearing out throughout the day. But let's look at your current conditions right now and see how things are looking. So right now, as I mentioned, that rain is starting to clear up at 43 degrees. Those winds in the north direction at 5 miles an hour. So it'll make it feel like it's 40 degrees, but not too much. Should still be around that low 40 mark. And as far as your day planner today, temperatures will go up around 10 a.m., 48 degrees. That rain should start slowly clearing out throughout the day there at noon, 51 degrees. And in the early evening hours starting at 5, 55 degrees. So those winds still staying here. So you'll feel a light breeze, but hopefully no sprinkles so you can get ready to enjoy your weekend. But coming up, even though we have one rainmaker gone, another one could be coming. I'll explain coming up.
We are continuing to follow breaking news out of Southeast Fresno this morning, where crews are working to clean up after a crash. Christina Rodriguez joins us live from Kings Canyon and Clovis Avenue with the latest on the crash, which knocked out power to many people in this area. Christina?
Good morning, Kim. That's right. I'm live here at the intersection of Kings Canyon and South Clovis. Now, we are told that as of right now, 179 people are left without power. I just spoke to Fresno sheriffs, and they did confirm with me that a semi-truck actually hit a nearby power line that you can see right here to my right in this area. Now, you can see the power line has been slightly knocked down and hit a tree. Now, PG&E is on scene, and they're already working on this power outage here. Now, the PG&E outage map online does tell us that power went out just after 5 this morning. So far, PG&E is reporting power may not be restored until 2 p.m. this afternoon. So we do want to let our viewers know if they do need any electrical devices to ensure that they can charge those anywhere else if they are still without power. And as you mentioned, Kim, you know, the power did go out earlier this morning and did leave over 1,000 people without power. Luckily, a lot of businesses in the area already have power, but some residents may not have power until 2 p.m. Now, in regards to the semi-truck, I did speak to Fresno sheriffs, and they did tell me that they do not believe that drug or alcohols were involved in the incident. It was just something that happened in the early mornings. It is under investigation, but that is what we know so far. For now, reporting live in Southeast Fresno, I'm Christina Rodriguez, Fox 26 News. Back to you.
Now, the whole point in getting solar, aside from the environmental part of using the sun's energy to power a home, is to use less electricity and save some money. Well, now the solar industry is in shock since the California Public Utilities Commission wants to reduce compensation for solar customers. Now, we spoke with a Cal Berkeley professor who believes that phasing out solar subsidies is a good idea. Governor Newsom wants electricity rates lowered statewide, and he challenged the Public Utilities Commission to find a solution. A CPUC believes that solar customers who installed units before April 2023 are not paying their fair share, so it recommends cutting compensation to them. UC Berkeley's faculty director of Energy Institute at Haas explains why the change is necessary.
Most of those customers paid a significant amount for their rooftop solar system, but they have saved far, far more than they ever paid. And so they have more than paid back their investment.
Professor Borenstein says electricity customers without solar pay for more than just electricity. Factor in things like past wildfires, wildfire prevention, undergrounding lines, even EV charging stations.
Residential rooftop solar customers in California are shifting about $4 billion a year onto other residential customers.
Now, if you get rid of the cost shift entirely, Professor Borenstein says that it would lower rates by about 10%. The Solar Energy Industries Association believes reducing compensation is not the solution. The next meeting of the Public Utilities Commission is a week from today, March 13th, up in Santa Clara. Southern California Edison is now getting sued by LA County, blaming the utility company for sparking the Eaton fire that claimed the lives of 17 people and destroyed thousands of homes. Although there is no official cause of the fire, the county cited these photos of flames around transmission lines and towers as evidence that Edison is to blame. The county also included a photo of a senior center burning. This chilling doorbell recording from an Altadena resident's camera captured what many believe as the first moments of the Eaton fire. And you can see in the distance the flames around the transmission tower.
We think there's ample public evidence that has been shown on media, different media, in terms of photographs and videos showing the fire starting directly under Edison power lines.
Edison put out this statement responding to the lawsuit, saying that our hearts are with the communities affected by the wildfires in Southern California. We are reviewing the lawsuits that were recently filed and will address them throughout the appropriate legal process.
So I want to take you to the live radar to see where things are shaping up as far as rain conditions. You saw earlier that Christina was out there live with some rain still there. It's happening more in the eastern part of the valley, southern and northern parts, the eastern side. You see most of the western areas, especially there like on the 5, they're not seeing any rain, maybe some like light chances, very spotty here and there depending on where you go. Monterey County seeing that rain, just a few spots there, same with the southern Bay Area. So that should start changing throughout the day there. Satellite radar shows those pressures that we saw yesterday pretty close to California, really not making much of an impact. That high pressure being on another part of the country pretty much, and then that lower part not making too much of an impact so far. And as far as the Futurecast radar showing another indication of that rain clearing out. This is at 10:30 a.m. where we'll start seeing it slowly move, and you can see it moving down south. So tonight by 10 p.m. that should be cleared. Just Southern California is seeing those chances of rain. Some snow still in the foothills, but by tomorrow it's going to be pretty good, pretty clear, no issues for us here. But if you look at the top left corner of your screen, you'll see another plume of green. As you pay attention to that, that starts coming in to the state, and by Monday, that's when it'll start making its presence known. It'll start there at the coastline, but as we get into about 5:30 there, that's when we start seeing that rain in those early evening hours. But it should be a temporary one, because by later on in the evening, it will start clearing out and moving down south. But another one could be coming after that, but we'll kind of keep our eye on that as we get closer. But as far as the next 3 days, 55 for our high today with that rain. Now should clear up. So by tomorrow, all we'll see is some wind around 5 miles per hour. The high tomorrow should be 61 with some partial cloudy skies. And by Saturday, should be clear, 67, overnight lows being in the low 40s to get you out the door and enjoy your weekend. Coming up, we'll get a look at your valley highs and lows to see how the rest of the valley is shaping up temperature-wise today.
Well, this is a hard one to see. Two dogs caught on camera mauling someone's cat in a Fresno neighborhood. It happened early Tuesday morning near Stanford Avenue and Pontiac in Fresno. The cat's owner says she fears it could happen again to another person or a pet and wants to prevent that from happening. She says her cat was an inside cat, but would occasionally go through the doggy door and roam around outside. She found it unusual that her cat did not appear one morning when called.
Come find her in my front yard, dead in my front yard yesterday morning. So something happened to her. We looked at the Ring camera and she'd been mauled by these two dogs.
She says it's something that could have been prevented if those dogs were caught when people first reported them. She learned after posting it to the Nextdoor app that the dogs have been in the area for some time, killing cats. She says she made a report to Fresno Animal Control, but they couldn't catch the dogs. With an elementary school around the corner from her house, she's worried that the dogs could target children next. We reached out to the city of Fresno for comment. We have yet to hear back. Now, we also reached out to Clovis Police. It received reports of the same dogs last month. A Clovis animal control officer was sent out to look for them, but couldn't catch them. Several more reports followed of what appears to be the same dogs at different intersections that you can see right here on your screen. Now, if you see these dogs, you're urged to call your local animal services immediately. Clovis Police say officers are routinely watching social media posts, and they've checked out the areas where these dogs have been spotted. But by the time they get there, the dogs are no longer there, so they're asking the public, please call them first before you post to social media.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, the latest on Doge after the issue took a prominent place in Trump's first speech to rejoin Congress in his second term.
Live look now up at China Peak, 7-Eleven, 13. Yeah, lucky 13 degrees right now. You can find new headlines and the weather forecast on your screen throughout the morning, even through the commercial break.
Crime Stoppers Daily Most Wanted. Law enforcement is trying to find Jason Wisdom, wanted for stealing a car. If you've seen Wisdom, call Crime Stoppers at 559-498-STOP. And remember, you never have to give your name, and your tip could even earn you a cash reward. President Trump's efforts to tackle government waste, fraud, and abuse remain a centerpiece of his agenda and a key point of criticism for his political opponents. Here's national correspondent Kayla Gaskins.
President Donald Trump's newly created Department of Government Efficiency.
Doge. Perhaps you've heard of it.
Taking a prominent role in the first address of his second term to a joint session of Congress Tuesday evening, dedicating 8 minutes to Doge's findings thus far.
$22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens.
Listing 19 examples of what he has classified as government waste, fraud, and abuse.
$8 million for making mice transgender. This is real.
Elon Musk, the controversial mastermind behind Doge, in attendance for Tuesday's speech.
Thank you, Elon.
And the opposition's response following the speech, Democratic Senator from Michigan, Elissa Slotkin, hitting back, criticizing Doge and Elon Musk.
Is there anyone in America who is comfortable with him and his gang of 20-year-olds using their own computer servers to poke through your tax returns, your health information, and your bank accounts? We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe.
Meanwhile, conservatives in the House and Senate doubling down on their support for Doge, pressuring Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune against compromising with Democrats by agreeing to add any Doge restrictions to a spending bill currently being worked on to avoid a government shutdown by March 14th. President Trump promising Doge is just getting started.
Taking back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning.
The Supreme Court Wednesday ruling against the Trump administration and their request to freeze $2 billion worth of payment for USAID. The case now sent back down to lower courts to sort out how and when payments should be made. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Now, in that report on Tuesday night's address, the president referenced Doge finding $8 million that was spent on making mice transgender. That claim isn't entirely true. The White House posted an article sharing the studies being funded by grants from the National Institutes of Health. The 6 studies that add up to $8 million in funding are not physically changing the gender of animals, but they are studying hormonal effects and sex-based biological differences. Hormones can influence different common diseases like asthma and cancer, and also influence reproductive health and HIV vaccine response. Meanwhile, Doge is now cutting back on leases for federal offices around the country, which include several here in the Central Valley. According to the Doge website, these are 3 of the buildings on their list. First, an IRS building in the Tulare Acres Professional Center by Celia, which costs a little over $208,000 annually to lease. Terminating that lease will save more than $365,000. Second is the Farm Service Agency office in downtown Madera, which costs $115,000 to lease annually. And then third is the Bakersfield Farm Service Agency office, which costs around $145,000. There are currently 748 lease terminations across the country, and there that you saw was a look at just a couple. According to Doge, the terminations altogether will save $468 million. Now, some Doge staffers are pulling in 6-figure government salaries. According to Wired, the engineers and executives at Elon Musk's project are drawing in hefty taxpayer-funded salaries, sometimes for the agencies that they're trying to cut. One Doge employee tasked with dismantling USAID and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is listed as making just over $167,000 a year. ProPublica reports that Doge's funding has climbed to $40 million, most of it siphoned off from other federal agencies. Severe weather continues to impact many communities across the U.S. 3 deaths in Mississippi have been blamed on the powerful storms, following downed power lines and falling trees in some areas. Forecasters warn portions of the West and here in California could receive extensive rain and mountain snow from a Pacific storm through tomorrow. Communities from the Southeast to East Coast to the Midwest have experienced a range of conditions, which include heavy winds, snowfall, tornadoes, and wildfires. Now, most of those wildfires are burning in Central and South Texas. High winds and dry air have caused the fires to spread. The Texas A&M Forest Service reported at least 9 fires are still burning across the state this morning. Now, while most of the South are in rural areas, some families have lost their homes. San Antonio had one of the largest fires with 30 families evacuating. With worsened air quality anticipated in these areas for the next couple of days, residents are being advised to stay inside. So let's get a look at your highs and lows, starting with a couple big cities across the state. There's San Francisco with the highs at 58 with an overnight low of 49. Los Angeles mirroring Fresno with a high of 55 and a low of 41. But let's go ahead and pay attention to our cities here across the Central Valley. Merced, good morning. You will be at 59. Los Banos will be at 57. Fireball will be at 58. Same for Kerman, 57 there, 56 for Madera. Mariposa at 47. Oakhurst will be at 46. Shaver Lake, good morning to you. You will be at 31. Now, Mariposa, Oakhurst, and Shaver Lake could still see some snow from that system that is still hanging on, lingering in the east side, so please be aware of that. And as we keep moving down, we'll see Clovis first. Good morning, 55. Same for Sanger, Selma, Kingsburg, and Reilly, all at 55. Orosi and Woodlake at 54. Good morning to you. And Yokuts Valley will be at 46. And as we get to the southern part of the valley, Hanford, good morning. You will be at 55. Same for Corcoran and Visalia. Coalinga, you will be at 53. Avenal and Delano, you will be at 52. And Porterville, you will be at 53. Overnight lows across the valley will be in the mid to low 40s. Some cities will see some chance of rain, but that could change throughout the day. But coming up next, we'll get a look at your air quality and allergy report.
The China Peak Snow Report, sponsored by Toyota.
So this is how things are looking as of today. Snow, as you saw in the earlier live cameras there at China Peak, and the temperature right now at 27 degrees. The lowest there being at 11 degrees. 80% chance of snow there with the wind speeds being at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Also to note, as of today, snow could reach up to 12 to 16 inches. Now, Highway 168 is open, but it is required that you either have a four-wheel drive vehicle or you get chains if you are heading up to China Peak today. Now, as far as the next couple of days, starting off Friday, that's when things start clearing up. As we mentioned, that system is moving. Clear skies tomorrow with a high of 35, a low of 17. And over the weekend, Saturday, we'll have some clear skies as well, going up to 46 degrees with the wind kind of playing a little bit of a factor. And then Sunday, there may be a chance of snow, just a 10% as of right now. Wind speed still could play a factor, but the temperature almost similar to Saturday at 47, with the overnight lows for Saturday and Sunday being at 25. Now, as far as today, chairs that are open are 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and the fresh groomed trails are ready to go there. And also remember that China Peak is open 5 days a week, Thursday to Monday. Their hours, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. But if you want to learn a little more, you can visit skichinapeak.com, or you can give them a call on their snow phone at 559-233-7310. Happening today, popular food spot in Fresno is closing today. Alexis Govea is live in North Fresno with the details. Alexis?
Yeah, that's right, Carl, and that's all because of some remodeling that will be taking place. So we are live here this morning at Chick-fil-A. This is at the Blackstone location. The popular food spot is set to shut its doors in a few hours. That's happening after the lunch rush at 2 p.m. We're told this will be a multi-month closure. The restaurant says you can stay up to date with the latest timeline plus behind-the-scenes looks at all the construction on Instagram at Chick-fil-A_Blackstone. This location has been serving Fresno for 17 years. For now, reporting live for this morning in North Fresno, I'm Alexis Govea, Fox 26 News.
Several agencies are now sounding the alarm against Israel's humanitarian aid block in the Gaza Strip. Hear why they say the decision to withhold supplies further endangers the people living there.
Now reporting the Trump administration is planning to revoke temporary legal status for 240,000 Ukrainians who fled to America following Russia's invasion. Now, this move could happen as soon as April, putting hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians on a fast track to deportation. Reuters sources say the planned rollback of protections was underway well before last week's infamous meeting at the Oval Office between President Trump and Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky. It actually dates back to an executive order that was issued on the very first day of the president's second term, ordering the Department of Homeland Security to terminate all what's called categorical parole programs. So on top of the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians impacted, this will also reach 530,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, and 70,000 Afghans who came to America to escape the Taliban. Ukraine is also now cut off from U.S. weapons and intelligence, things that helped the country fight off Russia's invasion these last few years. CIA Director John Ratcliffe confirms that the U.S. paused intelligence sharing and weapons shipments to Ukraine because President Trump questions Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's commitment to peace. Well, Zelensky issued a statement in response saying he does want peace. Ratcliffe says the president's tactics are working.
So I think on the military front and the intelligence front, the pause that allowed that to happen, I think, will go away, and I think we'll work shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine as we have to push back on the aggression that's there, but to put the world in a better place for these peace negotiations to move forward.
Zelensky on Tuesday said the infamous Oval Office clash with President Trump and Vice President Vance was regrettable. He says Ukraine is ready to sign a rare earth minerals deal with a goal of a security guarantee to keep Russia from advancing. Now, as for tensions in the Middle East, President Trump is issuing an ominous order to Hamas. Release all hostages now. And he called it his last warning. In this post on Truth Social, the president said Hamas can choose, release them and leave now, or the president said, quote, there will be hell to pay. Well, he says the U.S. will send Israel everything it needs to finish the job. The White House confirmed U.S. officials are talking directly to the militant group. It's a shift from long-held policy of using mediators. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the president authorized envoys to speak with anyone, and Israel has been notified of the talks. The Human Rights Watch is now warning that Israel's blockade of humanitarian aid into Gaza will shut down most of the Palestinian territory's water infrastructure within a week. In a statement, the U.S.-based rights group said that Israel's move was a flagrant violation of international humanitarian law that further risks the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in this war-torn area. Other aid agencies are also warning that Israel's move will have dire consequences for Gaza. Gaza almost exclusively relies on aid, with relief agencies warning last month that the humanitarian needs in this area are huge, despite the promise of an influx of supplies under Phase 1 of the ceasefire deal. Foreign ministers from France, UK, Germany, they all issued a joint appeal urging Israel to immediately ensure humanitarian access to Gaza and warned against the use of aid as leverage in the conflict.
So let's check out and see how things are looking as far as our air quality. Looking pretty good. It's pretty similar to yesterday. Merced, Madera, Fresno, Kings, and Tulare County, all good. And also in Sequoia National Park. So you might get a nice breath of fresh air and not have to worry too much because that air quality is in the green. Now, as far as your allergy forecast, pretty similar, just like with the air quality, similar to yesterday. Our top allergens are going to be ash, elm, and oak. Pollen levels are still low. Mold levels are reaching that high level. So just like yesterday, just be prepared if you have any allergens or allergic reactions to mold. Always be prepared. But coming up, we'll get a look at your Valley Day planners and see how a couple other cities are shaping up for today.
An executive order to begin the process of shutting down the Department of Education. It could be signed today. Why the president's order may face some challenges, though, in Congress.
how a couple cities across the valley are looking for today. Atwater, good morning to you. You will be at 49 degrees at around 10 a.m. And once we get to noontime, it'll go up to about 53 degrees. And in the early evening hours at 5 p.m., not much of a difference there, just maybe some clouds clearing up a little bit. It'll be about 54 degrees. The rain may play an impact just a little bit with a 30% chance there, but by 5 p.m., the only impact should be the winds at about 5 miles per hour. Raisin City, good morning to you. Rain may play a little bit more of a factor here, a 40% chance. Those chances are a little higher. 48 for you at 10 a.m. And as we get into noontime, that will drop those rain chances to 30%, but the temperatures will go up to 52 degrees. And as we get into 5 p.m., temperatures will go up to 54, and the rain shouldn't be too much of a factor, just the wind there, also at 5 miles an hour. Lemon Cove, good morning to you. Not too much of an impact from the rain here. Things should be partly clear. Should see a couple maybe spotty sprinkles, nothing too bad. 44 degrees, then around noontime, we'll be at 48 degrees, and at 5 p.m., you will be sitting at a nice 52 with some mostly cloudy skies there, just the wind being a factor there. But all of you across the Central Valley, enjoy a nice day today. But coming up, we'll get a look at your weekend getaway. Maybe a chance to maybe get out of the state. Who knows? I'll let you know.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from carrying out cuts to medical research funding. Now, the ruling comes at the request of 22 states as well as medical associations that argue the National Institute of Health's planned funding cuts are unlawful. Now, the lawsuits center on a new policy restricting how much the NIH will pay when covering the indirect costs of research projects like lab space, faculty, equipment. The administration is expected to appeal and has argued it acted within its discretion. Live look from Washington, D.C. right now. The Washington Post is reporting that the president could issue an executive order as soon as today that would work towards shutting down the Education Department. Now, according to the Post, the order would tell Education Secretary Linda McMahon to do as much as she can within the law. The agency is already making some big cuts, but the president cannot fully close the department. Only Congress can do that. A notion which Secretary McMahon agreed with last month during a Senate confirmation hearing.
Do you agree, and let me just once again get your feelings on this, that if there is a movement to abolish the Department of Education, it has to go through the United States Congress?
Yes, it is set up by the United States Congress, and we work with Congress. It clearly cannot be shut down without it.
It is unlikely that there would be enough Senate votes, though, in favor of this move. Even if the Education Department did go away, some programs and funding could stay and be shifted to other agencies where they existed before the department was created. That was back in 1979. President Trump's State Department is scheduled to give its first media briefing today, and it will be led by department spokesperson Tammy Bruce. The former Fox News contributor, selected by the president, stepped into one of the most publicly visible U.S. diplomatic positions. The State Department briefed the public almost daily under former President Biden, but those briefings were sparse and irregular under President Trump's first administration. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is calling Democrats' behavior disgraceful during the president's address to Congress.
Was the most shameful moment in the history of presidential addresses in that beautiful chamber. In what was supposed to be a unifying moment for our country, Democrat members of Congress instead screamed at the president.
Congressman Al Green was removed from the chamber after standing and shouting during the president's address. However, the chamber is no stranger to raised tones. 2 years ago, Republicans resorted to a shouting match with President Biden, with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene calling him a liar. At the former president's final State of the Union, Greene again yelled about the murder of Laken Riley, a woman killed by a man in this country illegally.
Not really. Laken Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed.
During the speech, other Democratic members silently protested by holding signs reading, "Musk steals, save Medicaid," or other phrases opposing the administration. The Democratic Women's Caucus also wore pink, you might have seen, saying that it was in protest against the administration's policies.